Drew, good to see you as always. And thanks for making a bit of time to come and have a chat. So appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much, Paul.
Um, just to kick things off, Drew. Um, tell us about the mission that you're on. I know you're very ambitious, and we're going to talk about some of those things in a bit. But tell us what you're trying to do with your business. Just give us a starting point around what you're trying to achieve here.
Paul, right now we're the Cultivator, and after running various online businesses from being 13 and I'm 19 now, we're here to really change the game and I'd say pull back the curtain with businesses in terms of honesty and trust with marketing agencies because I've been burnt by so many marketing agencies in the past, and here we're really trying to make a difference in helping people build their brand, build their business, whether that be e-commerce or lead based, into something that they're proud of and into really targeting their goals and dreams. And of course, everyone's goals and dreams are different, usually circles around money. So we're here, we're 100% honest, and we're ultimately targeting and building towards being a global and well-trusted marketing agency that assists businesses in scaling really, really profitably and honestly. And quite frankly, honesty is something that is super important with relationships, but in my opinion, missed out significantly in the agency world.
Okay. And you're 19, right?
Mm,
When I was 19, I didn't even think that I might be able to run a global business.
mm.
And you're well down the track. Which is very impressive. So, give us, what is it particularly that excites you about what you're doing? What comes across when you talk is that you're very focused and you know what you want to achieve. And what is it that excites you about that? What is it that gets you up every day to ride the kind of roller coaster that being a CEO is? All the ups and the downs and all the rest of it. Tell us what is it that really excites you about that world?
Totally, Paul. Look, I don't even need to go into the fact that it's hard to go with the roller coaster because business owners listening, they already know what the roller coaster is
Yeah,
like. Quite
yeah.
frankly, for me, oh, totally. And quite frankly, for me, the thing that keeps me up and the thing that keeps me locked in, there's a couple different things. One is that my family moved to Australia when they were very young, and in fact, my family moved to Australia when they were struggling after World War II, and they had to go through camps within Europe, and moved to Australia and built their family up from absolutely nothing. And they put in so many hours, so much work to get from nothing, literally nothing, just themselves, a couple of shirts and a boat into Australia, to where we are now. And that previous experience, being able to have that sort of history in our family has really cemented that drive into me and not wanting to let them down. That's only half of it though. The future as well is being able to provide obviously for my future family and myself. The last thing that I would ever want to do is have to make it a trouble for my children to put them in a position where they have to build something themselves or look after themselves. And I want to be there for them continuously. And that is pretty much that's pretty much the crux of driving it and not wanting to. I just want to build something global to be able to provide for that future family, and uh, although they can't see it, continue the legacy of my relatives that have brought themselves across all that way.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that that's a very powerful thing, without any shadow of a doubt. Well, one of the other interesting things about, well, not everyone, but a lot of people that end up as the CEO of a company, they've done a lot of education, they've done an MBA or they've done whatever. And one of the things I think in lots of ways, not having done things like an MBA is an advantage
Mm,
because you can think about your business and you can work out okay, well, what is it I need to do without being encumbered by sort of theories about what you should or shouldn't do.
mm.
Tell me about how you see the role of the CEO and how you work out what is the right way forward for your business, because your business is different to every other business, and that I think that's one of the things about the CEO is you've got to work out what's right for your business. How do you
Right.
do that given that you've not been through the kind of mill that lots of other CEOs have been through, where they're kind of,
Mm.
told what to think. You haven't done that, so you've got a very sort of, different way of thinking about the role. So tell us about that.
Yeah, great question, Paul. And look, that's actually the third thing that I said just before. The first two are to do with my family, right? The third thing is that decision that I made to not go to university. And by making that decision to not go to university, I had opportunity to go to scholarships. I had, very, very good opportunities there. but I waive those in favor of the business. And that therefore provides a sense of drive and a sense of there's no alternative. And you're entirely right by having that clean, that cleansing sense of no rule books there that I've entirely studied to provide the CEO role for our team. And quite frankly, it's really come down to learning from the previous businesses that I've had and how the dynamics of people have evolved in there to really understand that in the current business, in the cultivator that we're running now, that the roles of the CEO, myself, is pretty much to set the standard and to set the culture of the business. Because quite frankly, an apple rots from the top down. So by being, switched on, by being highly passionate, and by being extremely devoted to the business, it shows our team that essentially leading by example, that our team should be those qualities as well. Look, by any means, I'm always happy as well to jump in and get my hands dirty by being the CEO, because I think that really shows clients that even the guy right at the top, the guy that is managing all this team, still has the time and still has the devotion to each and every client to jump in and lend a helping hand whenever it's due.
It's
And
leading by example you're talking about, isn't it?
exactly right.
Yeah. And in terms of the strategy, I mean, you're growing rapidly.
Mm.
I mean, tell us about how you worked out the strategy for the business. I mean, I totally get your point about being passionate, about leading by example, about building your team. I mean, tell us about how you work out how to build it, though. I mean, how to build the business, the strategy piece. I mean, how did you figure out the way to do that? Lots of people try and fail. How did you get it? I mean, you've got it right.
Well, Paul, I wouldn't say that I've gotten it 100% right by any means, because there's always opportunity to learn. And quite frankly, that's the only way that I've been able to get it to success, to be actually able to get the failure in the way that it was working. And, there's by no means, we're not perfect. No
Mm.
one's perfect, but we're just able to find a way that works, stick with it, refine the strategy in a way. So, for example, when we started off, right, when we started off this agency, I had two clients and I started bringing in the team. And then we found out that, hey, our team was getting overloaded with tasks. And that was also one of the things that when I worked with previous agencies in our business that happened, that the agencies that I worked with to do marketing for my own personal business, they started to get overloaded and they didn't have time for myself, which is something that I didn't want to happen. So we went, oh, hey, let's go back to the drawing board and just refine it in a way that allows for a restriction on the clients that each team member gets. It's very, very much common sense, Paul, that we go, well, this isn't working. We'll count this as a failure, like you said, right? We failed technically at this particular aspect of overloading the team members. We go, well, let's just make a direct change to not overload them. The best way is to, well, let's set a limit, and then that results in a pod. So now we run with pods of different people within different regions. So we have a Pacific region, we have a Europe region, and a USA region of for the time zones, and then pods within those to limit the capacity of the team members. So we don't overload the team members, and of course provide a really good result for the clients, so they feel like they're getting listened to, and that's exactly what we want
Yeah,
them to
yeah.
do.
But that requires an openness to failure, doesn't it? You have to accept that you've
Totally.
tried something and it hasn't worked, and that can be
Yeah.
hard. I mean, what's your feelings about the failure piece and how
Oh,
important it is?
Paul, I don't really care about failure. I try and get as many failures on the board as possible because the fact of the matter is, I don't have a shoulda, coulda, woulda mentality, and this is a very Australian thing. But I never sit in a situation, and the bigger the volume, the bigger the money, the bigger the tasks that we have happening, the more things are going to occur, and thereby the bigger failures that they're going to be. They're more failures. And every day we have a little bit of a failure that comes along, and we don't go, it should have been this, it could have been this, it would have been this. We go, this is what's happened, this is what we need to do to move forward, and we just execute it in a realistically our business is so powerful, and the reason why we've scaled so fast is because we've been able to keep a fairly lean team, but also recognize the problems as they arise and just change them as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what we've been.
So
You're
it's
entirely right.
about being very pragmatic, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
100%.
Yeah. And that brings me on to your team. I mean, you're very clear about your role as the CEO. But you've
Mm,
got to bring together a group actually of team
mm.
pods as you describe them. I mean, how do you develop that mindset among your team? Because it's tough. I mean, it's one
Oh,
thing for you to say, okay, we've done something that hasn't worked, let's try something else.
mm.
For other people, they can feel, okay, well, I've made the mistake here. People are looking at me. That doesn't feel so good. I mean, how do you create a team that is works in the same way? I mean, that must be a challenge, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's a challenge. Essentially, it is a big challenge because essentially what I want to do for our team is shield them from that perceived risk, shield them from that those issues that I have as a CEO. Because being an entrepreneur, being a person that is very, very keen to put their risks out of there, that's not what someone who would want a 9 to 5 or work as a lower team member would want. And I'm not saying that any of our team is by lower thinking by any means, but with someone who wants a uh, very sort of consistent role and consistent money and
Yeah.
consistent position, they need to understand that that position is going to be consistent. So essentially, my job as well is to shield the risks from them and
Mhm.
provide a consistent role. So essentially, what they need to understand and what I've helped my team understand, and it's been really, really critical to bring on a team manager that is really in tune with the drive of the business, but I'll get onto that soon, is to tell our team that, look, if anything happens, we're there for you. We are there to back you up, and I will take the blame for anything that you do that is not too good, or within reason, of course, but that you feel like needs to be worked out with the customer. I'm happy to step in there, as I said just before, lend a helping hand and resolve that situation so the team feels confident in their abilities. And quite frankly, they do need to, because they're representing us and they're representing their own knowledge and their own sort of workflow. So they need to feel confident. In terms of our team manager, though, his name's Pablo, and he, quite frankly, is a legend. He solely believes in our business. He has been working with us for the longest out of all the team. I brought him on as a designer, but he's evolved into much more than that because I saw the drive. And the more drive that I see in team members, regardless of what they do, the higher that I sort of position them, because having drive and having the belief in our business is so beneficial to actually where they stand in the business. So Pablo came in and now he's pretty much in charge of the entire team. And everyone has his personal WhatsApp number. Everyone has his details to jump on a quick phone call with him and just sort something out ASAP with the team itself. And he's been doing so much in terms of also interviewing all the team and being able to back them up. So that I think having someone with a lot of drive and a lot of belief in your business, being able to then back the team up and make sure the team knows that their job is consistent, make sure their job they have backup and they have someone believing in them that they will be able to get the job done is super, super beneficial because then your team keeps pushing forward.
Yeah. So I mean, just to make sure I've understood this correctly, what you're saying is recruit good people with drive, and then make sure the rest of the team feels safe.
Correct. Make sure the rest of the team feels safe. And the biggest thing that I look for in recruiting people is, in fact, second to their skills, second to their abilities, is their just drive and belief in the business. In fact, sometimes I even jump on a phone call and a Zoom call with the team or the potential team member. And before I even ask about their resume, I just take a look and see what their mannerisms are, see if they're the person initiating the conversation, see if they're genuinely keen to be part of our business. One of our questions on our application sheet is just to get a team member to tell us a bit about who we are, because I want them to understand precisely what they're signing up for, but also precisely what we are, what our motto is, and if they can actually understand what we're rooting for.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. That's a very interesting approach, that asking them to reflect back to you what you are. That's great because then you'll
mm.
understand whether they've got it right or not, won't you? It's a very
Correct.
interesting approach that. And I mean, you mentioned customers earlier on. I mean, one of the other interesting things about getting bigger and working in lots of different parts of the world, different jurisdictions,
Mm.
is that you've got lots more customers. One of the most important things in business is staying close to your customer. I mean, how do you keep track? How do you build relationships with lots of different customers in lots of different parts of the world? I mean, where there are cultural differences. I mean, doing business in America very different from doing business in Singapore or whatever. I mean, give us
Totally.
your take on the kind of customer relationship bit.
Look, I do find that what we have found across the world, that yes, it is entirely different to do business in different countries, but the thing that everyone values the most is honesty. And if we pick up on a problem, even if we're a marketing agency, even if we're trying to convince the client that we're getting the best results possible, we have to be honest with them and say, hey, this specific thing isn't working, because as soon as we pick up on a little issue earlier in the piece, it could potentially snowball if we don't make a change to it ASAP. So by doing so, we have a customer portal. So every single one of our customers, every single one of our clients are in this portal with our team, and it has a chat functionality. It has Dropbox systems integrated. It has a Kanban task management board integrated into there as well. And that it's like Slack, but a much more user friendly, because
Right.
quite frankly, I don't want to have to teach a business owner how to actually communicate with us. So their system is super user friendly, and it allows us, every single one of our team, to communicate with the client. And of course, account managers are the first point of call to communicate with the client. But then, if needed, more information from our ads managers can be sent to the client straight away. And the client can then also see the data that they produce through there as well, all in one place. Quite frankly, the last thing that I wanted when I was a business working with a marketing team or a marketing agency was having a report on this website, which I needed an account for. I forgot my password to this other website that I needed to communicate with them with, and I couldn't remember my login to Slack. So, by having everything in one place, with more customers and more clients that we have around the world, it just really simplifies our workflow in terms of the client relationships on that front.
Mm. And in terms of, I mean, how you, I mean, that's really about managing the operation. So you want a
Correct.
client over and you're doing a piece of
Mm,
work and you've
mm.
created a way to keep them informed, to enable them to find out what's going on. And I mean, that openness and straightforwardness and honesty, I think I can see why that's really powerful. What about the bit before that, which is about how you win them over? And
Mm.
I'm thinking about, that's not just about logic, is it? It's not just about knowing what's happening. It's about an emotional, how people feel about working with you. I mean, what's your take on that part of the relationship with clients, the emotional part?
That's very funny. We always have to get over the fact that, quite frankly, not many people trust a marketing agency, and
Yeah.
that's very tough. And it takes a long time. And I'm always in the calls. I'm always 100% honest, and we always provide value in calls when we jump on. So typically, to win people over, we have a set of lead magnets, and by providing these lead magnets to people, we're just giving data. We're giving them sort of a benefit every single time they come in contact with us. They're getting some sort of benefit, even if we're not getting anything. The
Okay.
potential clients are, and that all culminates in a free call with either myself or a strategist. And on that call, we run through what we can do for specifically their business. So we don't show a cliche PDF, a cliche PowerPoint on what we've given to other people. Obviously we do show them previous results, but we also do an audit, we quickly look through, or we do look through in a more detailed, depending on what type of call this is. And then we provide evidence of what we can do for specifically their website, their system, their product, with screenshots and diagrams on what their specific competitors are doing as well, to scale them further. And by providing that very niche, very specific, very down to earth data with them, it sort of targets a different trust. I don't know what bone in the body it is, but it definitely targets a different element in them to then go, yeah, okay, these guys mean business. They gave us effort. They put time into our business already, and they're willing to move forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that it's about
Mm,
personalizing your approach to the specific requirements
totally.
of each individual customer.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do
Even
you
with
feel that? Well, I mean, just let's explore that a little bit. Why do you feel that's important? I mean, lots of other businesses don't do that. I mean, why do you feel that's important?
Paul, I don't know. I don't know why I feel that's important, but the thing that I can put a finger on why it could be important is because I've had businesses in the past and I've worked with agencies before. And the
Yeah.
thing that I've valued most out of whoever I've worked with, even if it was a one-man band that I was working with, if they gave a crap, if they gave time to me, I just value that so much.
Okay. So
And
you
it's
do
just
it
about
because
that.
you value it. You do it for others because you value it yourself. That's what you're
I
saying.
value it so much myself, exactly. Yeah, we with existing clients, I fly around and meet them in person because it's just that element of connection. And I built very, very great friends, and even from the clients, I've never met them before, and I've done work with them, and then now they're just great friends because we've connected, and we both understand now that we're devoted to our business respectively, and we just respect each other for that.
Yeah. And this thing about the kind of cultural differences, I know you've got
Mm.
a piece of technology that facilitates good relationships. And again, I can see the power of that. And I can see your logic about actually about the, I value it because it's, I do it because I value it myself. I totally get that. What about the kind of cultural differences working in very different parts of the world? I mean, America, working in America, very different from working in Asia. I mean,
Yeah.
give us a sense of the cultural piece because things are done in very different ways. If I don't know, doing business in India, very different ways of building. I mean, just give us your take on that.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't had many issues with cultural differences before. I always research if I do know our client and if I'm dealing directly with the client myself from a specific cultural background, I do obviously need to respect their culture. But quite frankly, I can't speak any other language right now. I have to do it
Yeah.
in English. And typically, the business that we work with, we do have a lot of businesses that we work with have had dealings with international businesses as well. So we have a mutual understanding that it might be challenging at some stages in terms of a cultural difference, especially with our teams that we bring on as well internally. We do need to respect their cultural, times, the holidays. Maybe if they have, Ramadan in a certain stage, or those different periods, we obviously have to give them room and respect that. But all in all, it just comes down to respect. And if we understand each other, there's obviously slip ups at some stage, but we're able to just move past that and continue on a professional business relationship. And it doesn't become an issue, not that we've found as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you use that word respect because I mean, that I think is a very powerful perspective to say we respect the needs and concerns of our customers. I mean, it seems to me that's a very powerful starting point. I mean, you may not always get it right, but it's a really powerful approach, I think.
Correct.
And I can totally see why that's and does that come from you? I mean, how did you learn that? I mean, not everyone does do that in business, do they? Not everyone does sort of treat their customers with respect. I mean, where does that come from? Is that something that you were brought up with? Is that in your background?
Well, Paul, I don't know if necessarily, of course, I wouldn't say that I haven't been brought up to respect people, of course not. But, having the inherent value of respect just comes down to common sense. If you want someone to respect you back, you got to respect them first. So we operate purely on common sense, as I'm sure you're already gathering,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
at the Cultivator here. And quite frankly, respect is a huge element in common sense. And I do understand that obviously my family has moved over here, and they obviously had a different cultural understanding before they came to Australia from Slovenia after the Second World War. And obviously they had to respect the Australian culture, and it was a bit tough respecting them back. But I could say that it's from family, from relatives teaching me respect, but it also comes down to a heavily common sense.
yeah, yeah. And I can see that, from a practical perspective, the kind of common sense thing is a really important kind of yardstick, isn't it? And
Mm.
if it doesn't make sense, if it's not likely to work, it probably doesn't make sense, and it's probably not likely to work, is it? So,
Well, yeah. Look, Paul, I mean, common sense at some stage, one could say it's just a cop out word, a cop out term,
yeah.
but I, I, I don't really think it is because, having common sense in ads when something is broke,
Mm.
fix it. You know what I mean? And if someone's underperforming, well, the only thing that we can do is find a way to make it perform better. So it's not, if something's just common sense itself, I think is really, really prevalent in what we do.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, the common sense thing is interesting. I mean, when you look back on, I mean, because
Mm.
you've had a number of businesses before this one, and this is probably your biggest and most successful, perhaps. But when you look back on the journey that you've been on, I mean, what are the big things that you've learned from that? I mean, have you had any real disasters that have changed the way that you do things, or I mean, give us a sense of what you learned from the experiences you've had.
Totally. Well, the first biggest thing that I can find is it was way, way back when I was
Right.
14. And I know some people might go, "Oh, you were 14. Well, who gives a crap?" Well, I do. And quite frankly, the scale of issues obviously scale up, but the fundamental teachings from this issue were huge. So when I was 14, I was selling little items, and this was the very start of my entrepreneurship CEO business owner journey. $6,000 got confiscated from little Drew by PayPal because I didn't follow the guidelines of PayPal when they said you're not allowed to be under 18. But I didn't lie to them and said that I was. I said that I was 14. And yes, they confiscated my stuff. And it was a great 18th birthday present when I got the $6,000 back. But, quite frankly, I think that was a lesson there. Even though the short-term issues of being honest might be a little bit crappy, then in the long run,
Yeah.
then you'll have more trust and it'll play out better by being honest at the start. And the $6,000 being confiscated was my real first just moment of there's nothing I can do to change right now. So I have to work with what I have and work with what has happened and
Yeah.
move forward and change what the current situation is. Don't procrastinate.
Yeah. And I can see why the thing about being honest is
Mm,
stuck with you. I mean, because
mm.
that's a very powerful lesson, really. And other big things that you've learned from it. I mean, would you say that running multiple businesses and the things that have happened, has it changed you as a person, perhaps? I mean, people evolve, don't you? I mean, how have you evolved in the last few years?
Well, 100%. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm 19 right now, and a lot of my friends are going out partying. A lot of them are going to university. A lot of them are spending their free time doing whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. And yes, in a way, I can kind of do that, but not really, because I'm spending most of my time in the business. And after running businesses for such a long time, as you said there, I've generated a sense of we got to put effort into something that we want to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah.
And the effort thing, I know that's just such a cliche thing, a cop out thing, but seriously, the amount of effort that I put into the cultivator is just insane. And sometimes I think I'm a bit insane for doing it as well because I sit back and go, holy moly, I've even stopped tracking the time that I put into it because I was seeing these numbers at the end of the week going, ugh, you know what I mean? Whoa.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is you can't just be spinning your wheels. And the thing that I've noticed, especially being creating this small business and transferring it overseas, is that if you're spinning your wheels and thinking that things are getting done and thinking that you're actually making progress, but the I'm not tracking enough information to tell me that it's not making progress, then that was something massive that sort of came across me because an analogy that I use quite a bit is on social media. If you've been told to upload consistently on social media from some guru that has a great following, and you're uploading consistency every day, and you're uploading image posts and they're getting like 2 likes, well, that's not generating you any interest. That's not scaling your social media. You're just doing it because you were told to do it. You'll
Yeah.
have consistency. You're still putting effort in, but it's not actually generating you any substance, any leads. It's not generating any interest or followers. It's just spinning your wheels. You're just staying in one spot and spinning your wheels. So I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned so far is that you have to be tracking what you actually want to happen, which is probably money or leads,
Yeah.
and making sure that there's a net gain across a period that you have been spending so much effort in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was reading the other day this book about this female entrepreneur, and she was saying
Mm,
that, you need to work out exactly the things that you need to do to achieve your goals, and then you need to do them. So if you need to do 25 posts a week, you need to
mm,
make, 100 phone calls or whatever the things are. You then need to, once you've worked out what the things are that lead to the outcomes you want, you just need to focus on making sure those things happen. Which is
mm.
easy to say, it's much more difficult to do. I mean, how did you work out what the things were that were going to enable you to scale? I mean, how did you figure those things out?
Well, when you're not collecting enough data to know what you need to do, you
Yeah,
actually just can't know what you need to do
yeah,
because there
yeah,
are algorithms that you can, if you look over the past period of 5 months and you can estimate then, okay, well, look, I had to contact 300 leads and out of those 20 converted. And from that, the revenue that I had was such and such. But
yeah,
the next 5 months, for example, could be similar, but you might come across a client that has a 3 times ticket size than what you previously had and you'll get to that goal so much quicker,
yeah,
or the clients could be different. So yes, you can use an algorithm if you're collecting enough data to be able to establish that. But uh, what we've done is we essentially just we have a target that we want to get to, and by any means necessary, we try and get there. And I know that's like sort of just fugazi, but quite frankly, it's we but we scale sort of naturally, and we always test different things that work. So we don't necessarily go, this is the only way we're going to achieve our goal, because there's always new ways that we might find along the way that will be able to get us to the goal, the monthly recurring revenue goal, or the team onboarding goal that works a little bit better. So if we spend all this time creating this very, very detailed plan, which I have done a couple of times, I have a table over there that I just have a bunch of like flow charts written out on there, and spend all this time creating this plan, and then we find this other way of doing it, it might refrain us from going for that other method of doing it. So we don't have a specific plan dotted out, because over the next few months a new AI tool might come out or something of that nature, which potentially could get us more sales, more leads, or is just worth testing in general.
Yeah, so what you're saying is have good data about what's being done and also experiment with new ways to do things if things aren't working. I mean, which
Correct.
is very powerful, actually. And you mentioned AI. I mean,
Mm,
just that's very topical at the moment because I mean, almost everybody I speak to is being affected in one way or another with AI. I mean, give
mm.
us your take on AI for your business. Do you think it's going to have an impact? In what way? Are you using it? I mean, give us your take on the AI piece at the moment.
Yeah, look, we're using AI 100%, but I think AI is a very fluffy word. So AI itself, a lot of softwares can use AI, and they say that they use AI, but quite frankly, typically it boils back to the API of OpenAI. So OpenAI has an API that they're able to feed to other platforms. Other platforms can query it for a certain price, and what you'll find is a lot of those other platforms, those ones that you're probably paying extra for, are just using the same technology that OpenAI is. So we only use ChatGPT and the new ChatGPT models that come out to do image generation or research on what we are providing. And we also use it a bit for content creation as well, generating plans and scripts and consolidating data. Um, what we definitely stay wary of is clients saying that they've seen this new AI tool, and we have to explain to them, yes, look, it might offer that, but typically if you boil it back, it's what we already use in ChatGPT. You just got to be real careful. I saw this meme the other day about someone bought a screen protector, and it said powered by AI on it. And I don't know how a screen protector can be powered by AI, but you just got to be really careful for softwares that say that they're AI and they're not. So we play it safe and just use ChatGPT 100%.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think it's gonna, I mean, it's already having an effect in your world, I think. I mean, do you think it's
Mm.
gonna have a big effect going forward? I mean, what's your take on how it's gonna, I know it's very difficult to predict the
Yeah.
future, but what's your take on how it's gonna unfold?
Look, I do know for a fact that Meta is moving towards an AI model significantly with its Advantage Plus campaigns, and obviously Google has as well with its Performance Max campaigns. And with Meta, I feel as though that the content writing and the creative creation, for the lack of a better word, is going to go out the window very soon, because I believe Mark Zuckerberg is very keen on making everything Advantage Plus powered and just allowing a business owner to upload one set, or describe what it wants to advertise, and Meta will create an ad for that, which is a bit of a concern in my opinion, because it reduces the control we have over the targeting to exclude platforms like the display network that we don't want to target, as well as also the standout appeal of certain ads that sort of catch attention quicker than others.
Yeah,
So that's a little bit of a concern of mine. The next one as well is creating sales directly through ChatGPT or an AI search engine. Um, that is a big one, because a lot of people are using AI these days as a search engine, especially with Siri integrating AI into it as well now. So we have generated a few sales off ChatGPT directly, actually, which is incredible. And we're looking at ways to actually integrate more. OpenAI has actually come out with a merchant center, a merchant sort of portal that you can
yeah,
ask for early access right now. And I highly recommend that one does go
yeah,
sign up to
yeah.
that.
So what you're saying is it is starting to really change how things are done. That's what you're
Oh,
saying.
it is going to become very mainstream if it is not already. And the world that I'm in, everyone is utilizing ChatGPT that I know of. And quite frankly, if you shy away from it, if you say that it's not worth it, even schools that say we probably shouldn't educate it, they're just going to miss out. They're going to fall behind the people that are actually using it, because it increases efficiency, production, speed, and just it reduces the time that it takes to produce anything.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's certainly going to shake up education. I think lots of people can see that coming.
mm.
A couple of quick questions before we wind things up. Um,
Good.
if you were, I mean, what is it that you know now that you would have liked to have known when you started out? What's that one key thing that really would have made a difference?
Honestly, the key thing that I believe is just, Drew, you have to track everything. You have to track it. And then don't be complacent. Don't say,
Yeah,
oh, you know what, I'll connect it later. I'll track this later. It's not an issue now. I'm not tracking it, because there are times that I've gotten to a stage where I go, oh, I wish I knew this about my target audience. I wish I already had these touch points, that these data points collected, that I just didn't bother connecting because I felt like it wasn't worth it. There's so much power in data.
yeah,
That's why OpenAI started out free to collect all those data points. That's why Microsoft Clarity is free to collect all the data points on,
yeah.
their websites, and that's why Google's free, so they can collect all the data on what people are using, and that's also why Instagram and Facebook are free for the consumer. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's a very good point you make about the data. It is so powerful when you've got lots of data about what you're trying to do. And one final thing, I know you're super ambitious. I mean, just give us a sense of the direction of travel for your business. I mean, you're already in lots of different places. I mean, what is it you want to achieve with that over the next few years? I mean, where are you going with the business?
honestly, quite frankly, I just love building things, and there's not necessarily an end goal that I have. It would be good to build it up to a thing where I can confidently sort of say that this is an agency now, that I can pass it on. But I'm having second guesses, because quite frankly, the cultivator is something that I'm super passionate about right now. And my vision is very much in the business right now. It's not necessarily an exiting point yet,
Sure.
but the fact of the matter is that I want to transform the cultivator into something that is bigger than just a marketing agency, but it sort of provides value to just immediate locations as well. We haven't opened up a physical office yet, but by having lots of locations around the world, it'd be really, really awesome to provide value and jobs in locations where it might not necessarily be applicable to a brick and mortar business, because the location around it isn't for high ticket value. So, for example, in a small town, right? In a small town, you probably can't set up a large jeweler business, because the value and the
Yeah.
demand isn't there. But you can set up a marketing agency location there, because you just need the talent. And if we can find the talent in certain locations, then we
Yeah.
can set up an office and work with people around the world because of the internet. So, yeah, my vision is much more than just an online marketing agency. I really want to set up an office, and I love inspiring people, and I love talking to people and geeing up the team.
Yeah.
So it'd be really, really awesome to be able to bridge out and set up real locations, and have a really, really awesome community behind
Yeah,
us.
yeah. I mean, Drew, I can see why you're excited about that prospect.
Mm.
I mean, it sounds like that really motivates you, and just a really exciting thing to do.
Oh,
It's a great time to be building a virtual business, I think, because there's
totally.
lots of exciting possibilities. So I mean, good luck going forward. I mean, it's not easy. It's not always easy, is it? But I think you're going to
Oh,
probably do
not at
pretty
all.
well with it. So, Drew,
100%.
thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing the story. I mean, and well done on what you've achieved. And I'm sure you've got lots of exciting things on the horizon. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Cheers, Drew. See you soon.
Right, see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.